Greetings, Rebel fans. My name is Jason Kelly. This is the Let's Run podcast. I know many of us are driving home or, getting home from work, watching Boise State absolutely clown on San Diego State right now. I believe the Aztecs are losing to the Broncos in Boise. The last score that I saw was 28-0. And that's with some time to go in the second quarter. So Boise State absolutely clowning on San Diego State, and that is something I just want to say is that San Diego State's football program is kind of a joke. It just is. They play in this glitzy new stadium. They can't really fill it that much, and you got to respect San Diego State as a basketball school, but when it comes to football, they are poo poo caca. And so STDSU, I hope you know how annoying you are, and don't like you. Just thought I'd throw that in there to start the podcast. STDSU, as we like to call them. So it's been a week. After the Boise State game, I decided to kind of take a little bit of a break. Not because, I was trying to hide from anybody, but just because, after the biggest game of the year, and especially with a bye week this week, I think it was important to kind of take a deep breath before we finish these last four games of the regular season. Really disappointing loss to Boise State. We lost because Boise State was just better. We lost because Maddox Madsen, the quarterback for Boise State, who's having an excellent game against Boise State right now, against San Diego State right now. We lost because Maddox Madsen outplayed Hodge Malik Williams. And we lost because our defense made some dumb errors to end the game. It was a close game. It was a one-score game. Holding Ashton Genty to like 130 yards and like 3.5 yards a carry. That was a very good achievement by the defense. We were right there. We were close. We just weren't quite good enough. Boise State in that game was coming off of a bye. They were a lot better rested. I think that they were prepared. They didn't make any big mistakes on special teams. And ultimately it cost us. We lost the game because we weren't quite good enough in that game. And the biggest thing that it cost us is the ability to control our own destiny. Now that Boise State has beaten us, it is going to take Colorado State and San Diego State are both 2-0 in conference play. Colorado State might be 3-0 actually. But it's going to take a team that we don't play to lose for us to have a chance at the Mountain West Championship game. And that's pretty disappointing. Now, if you look at Colorado State's schedule, tomorrow they play the school up in northern Nevada. I can't quite remember what that school's called, but it'll come back to me at some point. They play that school this weekend. And so that's an opportunity that Colorado State could lose. I'm not going to say that I'm rooting for Reno to beat Colorado State, but if Reno beat Colorado State, it's very good for UNLV. And considering we play Reno, I don't really feel that bad about, kind of hoping and wishing that they can win. So no big deal. I mean, hopefully it won't matter. We get to play Reno regardless. And so not a huge deal. Hopefully Reno and the other game that they play next week, Colorado State plays Fresno State, and that is at Fresno. And so Colorado State has two very losable games. Beating San Jose State was a very big deal for them. They escaped versus Air Force. They had a close win versus New Mexico. But at Reno and at Fresno State, even the home game against Utah State, all could be losses for Colorado State. So just have to hope that Colorado State loses a game. And once they do, UNLV will be right back in the conference championship race. The college football playoff race, it would take teams in the AAC losing and us beating Boise on the blue in Boise, Idaho. So, I mean, it's a very long shot at this point, basically zero. Not impossible. Win out, do the best you can. But I kind of wanted to talk about what the rest of the season needs to look like. The bye week came probably a week too late. It would have been nice to have the bye week like Boise did before the Boise State game. But the bye week came. We play Our next game is at the University of Hawaii. Um, Big matchup. It's impossible. It's a really tough task to cover when you play on the islands. Teams do. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you can do it. I think Boise State did end up covering their game, but UNLV right now, if you look at the FPI kind of matchup predictor, they have UNLV as like a 75% favorite in that game against Hawaii, 82% favorite. I'm not sure what the line is yet. But I imagine the Rebels will be favored by 12 or 13. That's kind of what I see. The Rebels will certainly be hungry, but it's really tough to play on the islands, as Boise State knows, and as every team that plays in Hawaii knows. Um, Not an easy task. And so the Rebels are going to have to put in a disciplined effort in order to take that game. And it's a good test, after a big letdown loss like the loss that we had to Boise State. It's a good test for this team and for this program, for its culture. Next, we play STDSU, the University of Sexually Transmitted Diseases, also known as San Diego State. My wife is giving me the don't call them that. Sorry. STDSU. We play San Diego State at home. That is a game where the Rebels will be heavily favored. And I expect the Rebels to absolutely clock them. That would be a good game. And then the Rebels have their last kind of really tough test on the air, a game at San Jose State. San Jose State is not a team that we have beaten very many times. Barry Odom, we lost to them last year at home before the Mountain West Championship game. And so San Jose State, that's going to be a tough game. There's no way around it. And Boise State also plays San Diego State. San Diego State gets both UNLV and Boise State at home. So, that's going to be a tough out. San Diego State's a good team. Can we win? Yes. Will we win? I think so, but you never know. Mediocre West, not worried. Thank you, Mr. Master Rebel. What's the Mass? Can you put the score of my internet's kind of bugging out. What's the score of the Boise State game right now? I cannot see it. My internet is not allowing me to get on ESPN. So I'll wait for him to throw the score in the chat. But so yeah, UNLV will play San Diego State. That'll be a home game. Then they'll play San Jose State. That will be a tough game on the road. And then we finish out our year at home versus the team in Northern Nevada, versus the Reno Wolfpack. So that will be a very hyped game. It's a rivalry game. But again, rivalry games, 28-3. Thank you, Mr. Varsity. Appreciate you, brother. So yeah, San Diego State sucks. I feel like we've had enough San Diego State slander in this podcast tonight. And so yeah, 4 very winnable games that'll test UNLV a little bit, but the Rebels, if they're disciplined, should be able to come out on top. And if you win those games, your chances of being in a Mountain West Championship game are substantial. They're pretty high. The Rebels most definitely can make a Mountain West Championship game. And that should be the goal, a rematch versus Boise. And Rebel fans, I will tell you right now, if UNLV gets another chance at Boise, especially if the game is in Boise, which it will be, I will pick publicly UNLV to win the game. Everybody knows I am not the type of person that loves to be overconfident, that I almost always pick against the Rebels. I won't the rest of the year, but in the big games this year, I always picked against the Rebels. But that game, I promise you, if we get another chance at them, which, who knows, I will pick the Rebels to win by like 7 points. I think it'll be like a 34-28 or 34-27 type of game. I feel confident in the Rebels' ability to get, if they have another chance at them. Now, am I saying that the Rebels will win no matter what? No, it's still pretty close to a 50-50 game in my view. But I will pick the Rebels if we get another shot at them. It may not be completely in their own hands, but the season's not over. The Syracuse game, in retrospect, stings a little bit more than the Boise game does, because it feels like, Boise, it feels like we lost to a better team with better players. But the Syracuse game is really the one that I'm going to look back on this year and say, ooh, we really should have pulled that game out. We really should have won by 7 with a Jackson Woodard or Jalen Catalon interception, or that fourth down stop that we should have gotten. We really should have used those 3 timeouts. I feel more bad about that game than I do about the Boise State game in retrospect. But that's where football is. We rested, we took a week off, took a deep breath, and now it's time to sprint to the finish. I know that the guys will be ready. I know the team will be excited and amped and ready to go. And I'm excited and ready too. It's going to be a blast. We don't get to see them at home for another couple of weeks, but what we do get is Rebel basketball. Now, I will very briefly talk about the Runnin' Rebels in tonight's podcast. I wanted it to be a little more football oriented. The Runnin' Rebels return on Monday versus Alabama State. I'm sure anybody watching this, there's not a ton of us tonight, but I wasn't expecting that. I want to get this to my Substack readers. DJ Thomas is dealing with a little bit of a stress injury with his foot. It's been a nagging problem basically ever since he got to UNLV. It's a problem that he had in high school. The staff is very conscious about it. They want to make sure that he's healthy and ready to go. UNLV will probably, although you never say never, probably be without him on the opener on Monday night. And they may even be without him next Saturday when we play the University of Memphis at the Thomas and Mack, which is one of our best home games of the year. Probably our best home game in the non-conference. Definitely our best home game in the non-conference. So this is kind of how I feel about it. And I'll talk about this. I'll do a live show Monday before the game. I'll be down on campus. So I'll do the show from there. And I'll probably do it about 7:30. We'll talk for 45 minutes or so before the game starts. If this Runnin' Rebel team cannot beat Alabama State without DJ Thomas, we're cooked anyway. We're probably not a great team regardless. Now, could they get better throughout the course of the year like last year's team did? Absolutely. But I like the test of depth. Obviously, I'd prefer to have DJ, but I like that guys like Brooklyn Hicks will get tested. I like that guys like Bear Cherry and Rob Whaley will get tested. And if I had to say the single biggest thing that scares me about this Runnin' Rebel team, it's the defense. I do not know if this team is going to be any good defensively. I don't know how good Jaden Henley is defensively. We were in a shootout versus San Diego, not San Diego State, but San Diego in our first exhibition game. Now, we were able to take that game and win it. But then it's an exhibition game. DJ got hurt early, but we did lose our second exhibition game to UCSB. Now, again, DJ got hurt early in the game. An exhibition game, coaches are trying to get as many players in as possible. So I wouldn't take too much stock in that. If we lose to Alabama State, you can take a ton of stock in that. You can take a ton away from that. But losing at home, losing to UCSB in an exhibition game, I don't really care as long as we show out against Alabama State. So big game at the MAC. It's 8:30 the night before election night. I said earlier, and I saw a few people, the people that are going to be at this game are going to be hilarious. Like, who's going to a college basketball game, the first of the season, against a no-name opponent? The game starts at 8:30. Everybody's anxious about the election, and the diehard Runnin' Rebel fans are going to be at the Thomas and Mack on Monday night. So I'm going to be at the Thomas and Mack myself. I'm going to look around, and I'm going to nod and say thank you to all the fans that show up, because you will be the real fans, the Runnin' masochists. Because let's hope that UNR hater does not get arrested. We are very worried about him. If UNLV loses this game, he has promised that he will spend the night in jail. And so let's hope that we win the game so that it's really for his freedom. I hope the Rebels can take that into account. So that is basically all I had for tonight. More weekly kind of preview kind of stuff will start next week. Basketball, I'm pretty pumped for basketball. Covering both the game against Memphis and the game against Hawaii on the same day is going to be wild, but I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Have a great weekend. Do something great with your family. San Diego State fans, I'm sure that there's at least 20 of them listening. No, there's I don't know. They probably wouldn't want any more punishment than Boise's giving them right now, but I'm sorry for my crude comments. I'm not really at all. But you guys have a great night. Appreciate you all, and let's run.